Hello students, here is the video on the chapter 1, the living world, the class 11th biology. This video is the first part on the chapter 1. In this part, we'll discuss about the characteristics of the living things and their nomenclature. So this is the first chapter. Now we see that there are various types of the things around us. Some of them are characterized as the living things and some are the non-living things. Living things have certain characteristics by which they can be recognized and they can be said that they are living. One of the characteristics is the growth. The growth is the irreversible increase in the body mass. The growth in the mass is from inside, that is internal growth is there in the living beings, while we can observe the mass of the rock also increases, but it may be due to the deposition of the external material on the surface of the rocks. In the case of the living things, the increase is from inside. Reproduction is another characteristics by which an organism continue to produce its own kind so that its variety or species does not vanish or disappear in the near future. The third characteristic is the metabolism. The total sum of all chemical reactions taking place in the body of an organism is called the metabolism. Metabolism consists of two types of the chemical reactions. All the chemical reactions are biochemical reactions, and these biochemical reactions are categorized in the two categories. One are the anabolism, that is when smaller molecules they combine to form a larger molecule. For example, in the photosynthesis, carbon dioxide reacts with water to form the large carbohydrate molecule. Contrast to it is the catabolism, in which the large molecule decomposes into a smaller molecule. For example, in the case of respiration, the glucose molecule oxidizes to form the carbon dioxide and water. One of the interesting characteristics of the living thing is that they give response to stimuli. Stimuli are the external factors to which the living beings give response. The non-living thing will never give response to the stimuli or external factors like the heat, light, the chemicals, etc. So this is one of the very interesting characteristics of the living thing. Another characteristic of the living thing is that all the living beings are made up of the cells which contain the protoplasm, which is one of the characteristics of the living things. Cells together form the tissues, together form the organs, and organs together form the organ systems, and various organ systems they form an organism. We see various types of the organism around us. Different types of the plants and animals are found around us, and that constitutes the biodiversity. So that is the type and number of the living organism found on the earth is termed as biodiversity. So far 1.7 to 1.8 million, that is 17 to 18 lakh species of living beings have been identified so far, out of which the 4.5 lakhs belong to the plants. If we talk about India, we have the 22,000 of bacteria identified in India alone. There are 400 varieties of mango, and 1 cubic centimeter of the soil contains 6 lakh the bacteria. So we can imagine how many types of the organism will be, a number of the organism will be all around the world. There are various types of the organism we want to study, we want to understand about these organisms. So we want to identify these organisms, and for the after the proper identification we want to try to give a certain name to the organism. For the identification purposes and giving the particular name to the organism, mainly there are the two international bodies are there which help us to assign the name, scientific name to the organism. One is ICBN, that is International Code for the Botanical Nomenclature, and ICZN, International Code of Geological Nomenclature. Now, once we have seen an organism, the same organism will be present in different parts of the world, and in different parts of the world that same organism may be known by different names or local languages. To make the similarity and for the identification, we assign the name to the organism. Now the method by which we assign the name to the organism was given by the Carolus Linnaeus, who was a Swedish naturalist, and the system proposed by him was the binomial nomenclature. In his book Systema Naturae, he has described 5,900 plant species and 4,200 species, and this book was published in 1752. Biological name, which according to this binomial nomenclature system is given to the organism, it consists of the two parts. One is generic name and the other is specific epithet. For example, the biological name of the mango plant is Mangifera indica, where the Mangifera is the generic name and the indica is a specific epithet. Now when we assign the name for the organism, we use certain rules which are followed all over the world, and these are the certain rules for writing the biological names. The first rule says the scientific name should be drawn from the Latin and it should be Latinized if taken from the other languages. Now Latin language is considered as a dead language which shows no variation in its terms, and therefore this Latin language is used for the writing the scientific name of the organism. While writing the binomial name of the organism, it should consist of the two parts. Binomial means there are two parts. One is generic name and the other is specific epithet. The first letter of the generic name should be capital letter, while the first letter of the specific epithet should be small letter. Next rule is the scientific name should be printed in italics. Whenever the name is printed, it should be in italics, and if you write with the hand, if it is handwritten, it should be properly underlined separately. That is, the genus should be underlined separately and the specific epithet should be underlined separately, not with a common line. And the last, sometimes a scientist who describes or identifies an organism. So his name is written along with the scientific name. The name of the author, either in full or abbreviation, should follow the generic or specific name epithet in the technical description. There are certain examples of the biological names, like for example, pea. Biological name of the pea is Pisum sativum, that of potato, Solanum tuberosum, brinjal, Solanum melanzana, wheat, Triticum vulgare, rice, Oryza sativa, onion, Allium cepa, garlic, Allium sativum, groundnut, Ericus hyperzi, mustard, Brassica campestris variety sarson, cabbage, Brassica campestris variety potatoes, earthworm, Ferritima postuma, with the lion, Panthera leo, and tiger, Panthera tigris. So this ends with the first part of the chapter, and in the next part we'll study about the how do we classify all these organisms.